pretty easy last lesson. I'm actually going to comment all this out because this is driving me crazy. And while the lesson was off, I actually changed up the form a little bit. I switched it to a send a letter demo. And I changed this from, I think it was like sign up for updates to are you the author? And what I want to do now, before we even cover updating or creating, I want to cover updating data. So the U part of CRUD. And I want to create a cool goal here where when you click this checkbox, if you're the author, I want to pre-populate these fields with data retrieved from the meta information of the document. And I'll do this and it will start to make sense in an example. So imagine this was a CMS where learn jQuery is the title. If it was a /learn, like a different page, learn Angular, we can do learn Angular. And I want to associate meta information with that. And I'm going to just do it on the title like we have been doing. So imagine the author name is hidden here. And this is like a real practical example. So we'll say Nick the noob. We'll say data author email equals nick@scotchio. Refresh this page, inspect the element. We can see we have meta information with those data attributes. So our goal is if you're the author, populate the name field and the email field. And to do this, first thing we should do, let's move this checkbox to the top. It doesn't make sense to be at the bottom if we're doing this demo. Are you the original author? If yes, let's fill out this field for them. If not, doesn't matter. All right. Well, first thing we need to do is on change of this thing. So on check or uncheck, we need to figure out how to do that. And I've given the label here that wraps the input type checkbox a ID. So I'm just going to target it that way. So I'll say the label input, which is the checkbox, on change. Let's do something. And we could pass event if we wanted to. I don't think it really is necessary, so we'll just not pass it for this one. And on change, let's do some things. Let's get the current this. So we want to be able to get the checkbox. Let's get the closest form, which we know is inside of a form. So we know the checkbox is inside of a form. And from there, maybe we'll just do two more variables. We'll go email input is equal to form find input type equals email. And we'll duplicate this for name. And this is actually going to be input type equals text. So this one is text. This one is email. And now we have our variables declared and accessible. So we need to do some crazy logic to determine if this is equal to checked, grab the data, populate the data. So we're reading the data, we're updating the data, and that's it. Otherwise, what we could do is clear it out. Now, I'm kind of writing these comments to guide our process. I actually do this a lot when I'm doing any type of code. I think it's really helpful. All right, well, let's grab the data. We'll have to figure out this logic later. And what I want to do is I want to grab the data. So we know var name is equal to, well, let's actually create another variable. Var hero h1 is equal to hero h1 data, or hero h1, and the name is equal to the hero h1 data author name. I think that's what it was called. Maybe you guys remember. Where are we at? We are author name, author email. Perfect. So we'll go name, and then we'll do email, and we'll now just populate these fields. Pretty easy. We will email input, the value is equal to email. The name input is going to be equal to the name. So all we're doing is finding the email and turning the value of the form to that. So I don't have any conditionals right now, but if I refresh and I don't have any, if I don't have any JavaScript errors, if I click this checkbox, it should populate. It doesn't because I have a syntax error on line number 39, which makes sense because it's not from, it's form, refresh. There we go. So you guys can see, refresh here, I added it. We're grabbing the data from the H1 and we're populating the field. Now, I want to add one last step, which is to handle for if the checkbox is checked or not, because we're only handling for the change right now. So if it's checked, there's going to be a way to do this. And if you're ever in a situation like this, just Google search, how do I do X? And there's going to be an example in jQuery. But for this, there's this helper called is, and all we're going to do is say is checked. And I actually snagged that line from Google before I did this training. Just because I don't have all these memorized either. So kind of unreasonable to be able to memorize all that. And what we'll do here is just copy and paste. So otherwise, pretty easy. The value is not going to be the variable value, and it's just going to be empty. And so let's clean this up, refresh, hit update, unupdate, and you can see we're toggling it. We're reading data and we're updating data. Now, that was pretty cool. Hopefully that wasn't too long. In the next lesson, I'm going to expand on this demo and we're going to write data, and I'll create like a preview box where we can live write the message that's about to be sent.